Hello, welcome to the Retired Farm Boy channel. My name is Jeff. Today's video, the sad reality of growing older. I'm going to get into a couple of a topic rather that we all have to get used to as we get older. There's going to be times where we lose some people. And recently here on YouTube, there's a channel, This Is Our Retirement, Norm and Tina, that I will subscribe to along with probably many of you that are watching this. Norm passed away, and he just turned 70, I think, fairly recently. And so it was unexpected, obviously. And I wish the best condolences to Tina, and I hope that she can find, people that can help her get through this. It hits me a little bit because I consider this to be a YouTube family. Now, I didn't know Norm any better than someone else that I might meet on the street, to be quite honest. I'd left a couple messages. He or Tina had responded back to me on a couple of the messages I left, comments that I left. But other than that, I didn't really know Norm. But you get to know these people by watching these YouTube videos. And so I felt like I had a little bit of tug there when I heard the news that he had passed away, because it is sad for anyone to pass away, but someone that you have somewhat of a connection to, and I did. So again, Tina, best of luck to you, and I hope that and pray that you can get through this, and hopefully you can continue on with your YouTube channel on your own. Now, the other part of this that I want to talk about is something that happened about the same time that is definitely more personal to me. I had a friend of mine pass away while I was on vacation last week. Now, it was right towards the end of my vacation. The last couple of days was a little bit, torn for me, because I was thinking about Bobby, which was his name, and and what had happened to him, trying to find out more about that at the same time trying to enjoy vacation, which was a wonderful time that I had with my wife. I want to talk a little bit about Bobby and what he meant to me. And I'm sure this is a story that many of you have had with friends and loved ones that you've lost. So I want to talk a little bit about Bobby and his friendship that he and I had through the years. So I got to know Bobby when I was in high school. I was probably a junior in high school or so. And I got to know Bobby. He was 5 years older than me, so he was out of school, and I'm not exactly can remember when I first met Bobby, but being that I was in the community that I was in, and what I was doing at that time was helping a farmer farm. I was sharecropping with a farmer in high school and after, and that's what Bobby did. He was sharecropping with another farmer in the local area. And what happens in farming communities, as some of you know, when crops get finished putting them out, and when they get harvested, farmers get together and they have celebrations, I guess you'd call it. And around here where I live, those celebrations is usually cooking a hog over an open pit fire. And so everybody comes around to the different ones. One place may have a cookout, this weekend. Somebody else may have theirs the next weekend, and you just went back and forth between these things. It's almost like a little community of farmers that would get together and such. And I think that's probably how I got to know Bobby, is going to those things. But fast forward a little bit of time, especially after I got out of high school, Bobby and I became very close friends. We were probably with each other every day, and I mean that, every day. We would run around together, as we called it, and all we really did was go to the big town around us and ride around the town a million times. I wish I had a penny for every time I rode around the main square in the local town that I lived near during those times. But we were primarily chasing girls. That's basically what we were doing. And so we had many stories to tell, some that I will never tell, I guess, that Bobby and I had. But we had some great times together. Bobby and I were very, very close. Now, I ended up getting engaged, and so I sort of started not being around town quite as much, obviously. I also, Bobby got to married as well. So we both ended up getting married. We we had years that we were apart and didn't see each other quite as often. But when we did, it was just like we never, was away from each other. It was amazing how our friendship was. So fast forward through the years, I'd see him maybe every 5 years at some point. He was out of town traveling and working. I was out of state for a while, so in a small area, you do cross paths some, but it was very rare that we saw each other. So about a year ago, Bobby had retired a couple years before I did, and about a year ago we connected again and started going to have lunch together and go over each other's house and visit. And I can call Bobby a really good friend, and the reason I can call him that is that when you got a good friend, when you know that you haven't seen him for a long time, and as soon as you start talking to him again, everything just comes back like you're best friends again. And that's the way it was with Bobby. He was one of those guys that knew everybody. Everybody knew Bobby. He was single, never had any children, and he had done well for himself. He, like me, had come from a very poor family, and he was come from a family much poorer than me, and so we had that as a background that we talked about years ago and even lately when we were getting together. But Bobby had done well. He had a house and a few acres, and he had the means to do whatever he wanted to do for his little lifestyle. He didn't travel a lot. He hunted, he fished a lot, he loved to collect guns. He loved to have a nice car. He had a really good looking Corvette, older Corvette that he had taken care of and fixed up, and so he was able to do what he wanted to. He had done really well for himself. And so when I got the news of Bobby passing away, it was pretty devastating, as you might expect. I just feel like I sort of got cheated a little bit. I'd just gotten back in talking with Bobby for the last year or so. He was becoming a very, very dear friend to me. I have not had a lot of really, really close friends in my life. I don't know if that's because I'm funny and hard to get along with, which I don't think that's the case, but I am introverted, and it takes a lot for me to trust someone. But Bobby was one that I trusted. I could tell him anything. We would talk about anything. We'd talk about God even. We'd talk about prayer. Now, Bobby didn't go to church or anything, but I do think he had a relationship beyond what I probably knew he had with God. And I want to believe that. So when I went to the service on Tuesday for Bobby's funeral, first thing that hit me, and a smile came over my face when I got out of the car. There were so many people there to see Bobby that there was a line out of the funeral home for people waiting to go in to see him. That tells you the kind of person that Bobby was and the kind of person that I knew. The second thing that made me smile even bigger is right behind the hearse that was going to take him to his burial site was his Corvette in line. Now, I'm not really sure. I never did find out and ask enough questions to find out who had put that in line and was going to drive it, but man, did that make me smile. I got a vet as well, and so Bobby and I had that in common as well, and we talk a whole lot about that. So I know how much he appreciated that vet, and it was so great to see that. So all in all, I just wanted to give a little bit of tribute to Bobby. The tribute to my friend Bobby is probably not a lot different than a lot of the tributes and thoughts and reminiscence that you have of some of the people that you've lost in your life. We all have. But Bobby was so carefree and easygoing. Everybody knew him, like I said. And one of the things that struck me that I want to finish with and read, it's a poem that was on the back of his obituary paper that the funeral home had put out for Bobby. And I want to read that if you don't mind. And I think it's very, very touching and very much the way Bobby would have wanted people to act after his passing. The poem is titled, "Miss Me, But Let Me Go." When I come to the end of my day and the sun has set for me, I want no rights in a gloom-filled room. Why cry for a soul set free? Miss me a little, but not too long, and not with your head bowed low. Remember the love we once shared. Miss me, but let me go. For this is a journey we all must take, and each must go alone. It's all a part of the Maker's plan, a step on the road to home. When you are lonely and sick at heart, go to the friends we know and bury your sorrows in doing good deeds. Miss me, but let me go. Pretty hard for me to read that right now because it does bring back memories as I was reading it of Bobby. But it is such a good story and such a positive note for us all to consider when we do go through those sad times in life when we lose loved ones. So as I always say at the end of my videos, don't let the old man in. I truly mean that, because it's so important to enjoy the time that you have with others, with yourself, with your spouse, your loved ones, your friends, your family, and get into retirement as soon as you can, because I'm telling you, you never know when your day is going to come, and you want to spend time. You hope that you are able to spend the time that you want to with the loved ones that you have. So until next time, I'll say it again, don't let the old man in.